Reverend Sue will be speaking to us this morning on the inner light.
Oh, good morning. Nice to see you here, and I trust you had a lovely time over the holiday. I know I have. I've been enjoying my daughter and her husband, and Charlie's daughter was here for a little bit, so I love that part of my life. So preparing yesterday for this talk, something I was doing visioning this morning with Cher, and something that she reminded me of, that oftentimes she remembered this a long time ago, and she remembers that she was horrified when I had said it, because I said, I get so excited about things, and then I sign up for them and I say, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to be a part of that. And then when the moment arrives, I'm going, never mind. Never mind, but I show up anyway. And that's sort of this talk. It was about the inner light. And when I create the topics, I go through and have the opportunity to feel the theme that we'll share together. And the inner light led me down a path that made my heart long for where I was when I began. And I was humbled to feel that I could even share any idea of the inner light, until I picked up one last reading last night before I went to bed from Guru Mai. And I loved this because it gave me the confidence to speak to you today about this idea of the inner light. And this whole Christmas season is about lights and the stars and the wise men following that light to a greater understanding. And so the urge, the calling on a spiritual path is to turn within and to follow the light. And sometimes, as I shared in that meditation, when we first close our eyes, we're covered with darkness, aren't we? Where is the light? And we start trying to create it. In fact, I remember we almost invested several $1,000s in that light thing that you could put a hood that you could meditate under, and the light would just be there. And I was so tempted by that because I had the experience of sitting under someone that had purchased one of those, and I thought, man, cool, you're just there. You don't have to do a lot of prayer. You just close your eyes and sit under the hood, and there you are in this magic light show. And so I thought, what a secret this person has. And that I think that light was several $1,000s. So I just couldn't quite convince myself that it would take me there. But so I went back to the prayers of the heart. But what I wanted to share, what Guru Mai had shared in this writing, kindled my heart. She says, a great saint had said, just as a flame is utterly still where there is no wind, may your mind be totally still all the time. Although clouds appear and disappear in the sky remains untouched by them. Similarly, happiness and unhappiness arise and subside. Stay calm, stay still. A lotus grows in mud, yet it is so divine and beautiful. There may be misery in your life, but stay free from it. The Swami says, stay content, totally content. When you are content, you will receive everything. You will perceive everything. And so that idea continually, my idea of true spiritual practice, true spiritual journey, this idea that so many faith paths are pointing to the divine, to the love, to Jesus, to Krishna, to the Buddha, to this quality of this divine nature. this light, and when they get that, they are illumined, and you can see the wisdom in those true teachers. Their whole being is illumined with this truth, and we're drawn to that light. You know, like moths going. We're drawn to that light. And it can burn through some of the sufferings of our own soul, but we're drawn to that light, and it calls us always. But to find that light asks us to be very, very still. And it's extraordinary in this day and time to be very still. It seems like the lights that we're drawn to now are little handheld devices. Jimmy Kimmel, on one of his comedian rants, was saying that Thanksgiving is a time where all the family gathers together with their handheld devices. And at one moment in our household, I looked around and everybody was looking at their game or whatever it was, and this artificial light shining back in their faces. And so have we as a society gotten further and further away from this inner light, from that light that dwells within us, as us, is us? That light that, when Jesus walked on his journey and came back, and people could not even behold his face. It was so lit up. And Moses, with his experience with the burning bush and that sense of divine presence, that burning, that glory of that light. And that, I thought, I remembered that's where it all started for me. So many years ago. So many years ago, as I read the autobiography of a yogi, he expressed that because I was raised as a Methodist, and I was trying to understand Scripture. I was trying to understand what all they were pointing to. What is this light? What is this Jesus that we're looking for? What is this? And then I discovered the path of yoga. For me, it was my path. And then this deep longing to find that level of stillness and stability of heart and mind where this light merges through the centers of the body and we are enlightened. And in that enlightened moment, we're able to express this truth out into the world. And this light draws more light. And I thought, that seems like it is the answer. And so this part is what I fell asleep with last night. There are two ways of spreading light. And so I found comfort in this because I thought, shame on me to speak of this inner light, and I've only had glimpses. I'm not the mystic. I'm not the one that has had these moments of great rapture that have stirred me into this great awakening, and that I must now go share the word. I am interim. I am here for a short time. And so my prayers of the heart are to be in a journey with all of you and to share a truth that inspires us to stay on this journey, to stay in practice, to stay in those places where we are longing and hungry for that inner light, and so that people will come upon us and just see that clarity of truth, and they want, as Sally said, I want what they have. And so I felt comfort in this. There are two ways of spreading the light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. Become a candle and you will be able to reveal the light. If that is impossible, then become a clean mirror. And that is what I love about this teaching, because it is always asking us to polish the mirror of our soul. When Reverend Kim was here a couple weeks ago and he spoke of the Tao, he spoke of the way, he spoke of that presence. And I look at the first chapters of the Science of Mind text, and I see that's what Ernest Holmes is talking about when he talks about what is it. And he names it in all the other names because it is nameless. And he names it in all the different ways that maybe he can allow us to find a comfort with that word, and it'll take us inward even deeper. But the way, the one, the truth, the light, that which is back, beyond all that we have perceived, that place that is so pristine and clear. And when we can allow that place to reflect the light of the one, you see, all of our judgments, all of our ways of being, all of the perceptions that we have cloaked ourselves with in a lifetime of our living, of our being, all of that is set aside. And this clear truth, this clear light of the divine, this pure consciousness is what is expressed. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that something to long for? All the other ideas, all the different texts that we read, we can set them aside when suddenly we have that aha, that's what it is. That's what Dr. Kim was speaking to, the way, the Tao, the purity, the essence, the truth. And that's what Jesus and Moses and some of the great saints of the Christian world were saying when they said they went on that journey and they spent long enough to see that light, bring that clarity through the burning bush, through Jesus' walk in the desert, in that place of absolute stillness, where the mind can be as clear as that vast landscape of the desert. And so they are touched by that divine light. Ernest Holmes says, in flashes of illumination, and we've all had that. We've all had that privilege of, oh, yes, that's the truth. That's what I'm hungry for. That's what's going to drive me in this greater knowing. We've had those flashes that have inspired us to see the very center of all reality, to see what they mean when it says to love all people. Oh, how they're so irritating. But then you go, no, look beyond your judgment. Look beyond that, because you are polishing the mirror. Get out the tools that will allow you to polish the mirror, and so that you can look deeply into one another's eyes. And you can be willing to look long enough into one another's eyes until you could well up with tears because you just saw the truth. You saw the divine looking back at you. One of the most magical moments for me in my current reality was having the opportunity, the blessing, to lead the women in a retreat. And these God-inspired moments where these ideas come and you say, do this, and I'm thinking, weird, but I think I'm going to do it anyway. So I brought this big old honking mirror, and I thought to myself, if I was one of the retreat women and I saw this big mirror coming, and I thought, oh gosh, because a lot of times we do mirror work with little mirrors, and of course we're always like trying to get it just so our double chin doesn't show, or okay, there, that's the angle that the crow's feet don't show, so we're doing all this like external work with these little hand mirrors. But no, I brought this big, huge mirror, and they had to walk into this mirror, and I stood by it. And I said words that allowed them to see beyond this physical outfit that we wear. Look deeper into your own soul. Look into that part of you that developed who you were because that's what life gave you. And so you have this experience. Look into that idea of who you are. And then look into that idea, that soul knowing, that God knowing, that truth, that divinity that dwells within you as you, that all master teachers point to. Look carefully there. And then blend and merge the vision and see God as God sees you. And there was this moment this moment where the women would just posture, and then they walked through and received blessings from their teachers. And then they sat in a circle and they held this candle. And I cannot tell you how awesome it was. I was the last one to walk through that space, and I sat down, and it was one of those moments as if the Christ light was, every woman was just bright with this light. They had been cleared of what was, and they were looking out with eyes, polished mirror, flashes of light, flashes of truth. The room was lit up, and it was the most holy, sacred moment. And I will never, ever forget that. It just made me weep into a place of the awe. This idea of looking and being this flash of illumination, seeing into the very center of reality, and have brought back, this is the idea of these great masters, they have brought back with them a distinct impression of what they have seen and felt. A glimpse of this reality illuminates the whole being with a flood of light. And so we've had that. We've had those moments where we're touched by Scripture, we're touched by a song, we're touched by a poem, we're touched by a friend. Sometimes we're looking, and in the holiday seasons, we're looking for that, I want that Christmas feeling. I don't have it. I feel grumpy. And then in a flash, in a moment, in the glimpse of a child's face while you're shopping and you see a child sitting on Santa's lap, and it could be that. It could be walking in today and seeing how beautiful this center is being decorated and created. And we have gratitude for those people, those hands, those hearts that chose to come here and to create beauty for you, beauty and light. So every mystic has had this experience of this inner light. And as I have said, Jesus' face was so bright that his followers couldn't even look upon him. Ernest Holmes says, one life flows through all, and that all are some part of that life. There is a seen substance which is fine, while brilliant stuff forever falling into everything. The mystic is able to capture the essence of this truth by grace itself. And I think of that song, Amazing Grace. When we really think and listen to the deep words, the deep meaning of that Amazing Grace song, and we realize the change that happens when we allow that divine light to infuse our body. And we allow this idea, is this what they mean when we can create our experience? When the words of I am, when we realize the depth of that I am, and whatever follows that, you are, so be it. It is the principle of life. I am. Oh, I am. And so you want to stay in this place of allowing the qualities of the divine to be that which is expressed in this illumined state. I am love. I am beauty. I am these qualities. And this is what that Jesus came down with, this sense of knowing in his being, and his disciples, when we're looking at, they still had their perceptions of their own selves, their own, probably a sense of their own unworthiness, their own doubt, all those little ways that we cloud this light. They still had that. And so they couldn't look upon that. They had to turn. They could not see that. But what is being asked for us in this privilege of every day, of every life, of every breath, is to continue to polish that mirror so we see this truth, so we see this substance of creativity, of this divine flow moving through us and allowing it to be expressed. This is the creative call. Let there be light, and there was light. So many scriptures, that's just not in the Bible. That goes clear back to the Vedic texts. Let there be light, and there was light. And we sense that knowing when we see these mystics, when we see these great sages, and we see this halo of light around them. The inner light no longer is contained, but it just allows this aura of great beauty to crown their head. And this light shines in all the darkness, and the darkness comprehends it not. And we recognize when there is darkness, when we're in that dark place, the moment someone switches that light on, suddenly we see things so much more clearly. That's why we go to worship together. That's why we go to a practitioner when we're in such a dark, deep place in ourselves. We need someone to turn the light on. And then when we have that sense of aha, we realize that the light is forever on when we have that aha. Let the shine. We discuss these ways we get this aha. How many ways do you allow this aha to be birthed inside of you? You were blind once in the Song of Amazing Grace, but now you see. I love that song. This light has the ability to burn through all the impurities, all the ways that we're not skilled enough in that moment to see the truth. But when we allow ourselves to deeply stand in this light, we recognize that the truth is this light, and we get glimpses of it. When we get back of all things, like I talked about a moment ago, we see this truth. And in the textbook of Science and Mind, Ernest Holmes points to the idea that the treatment, when we do prayer, our form of prayer of treatment, when we really recognize and unify with this one divine knowing, and we allow ourselves to really recognize that we are a conduit of that truth, and we accept this knowing, he describes it as a visual, as a pathway of light. When we make that connection, there is a pathway of light that was always in existence. We cannot try to make it happen. We can't, visualize it and force it into being. It's this place of deep relaxation and deeply allowing, and allowing it to be a felt sense. I want to return to that. At the altar of your heart is this flame, this divine flame. In the Siddha tradition from Muktananda's lineage, it is known as the pearl, the blue pearl. And this blue pearl can expand in its brightness, and it can shrink depending on your consciousness in that knowing. But this idea of invoking this light and meditating on this light. Muktananda was giving his lecture to a group of people because oftentimes there was a anointing of this great light, the awakening of this great light. And some people would spend years with austerities and practices in order to allow the kundalini, they called it, to rise up through their spine and to wake up this divine knowing inside themselves. They spent years. And then Muktananda was in this lecture just telling them how to do it. And one person got so upset, and he goes, "You shouldn't be telling the people that. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I'm just now getting the stirring." And at the same time, somebody else was in the audience saying, "I just got that." And Muktananda says, "You see, you want this to be birthed inside of you at the moment that you're ready. At the moment that you're ready. And it shouldn't be something, it is awakened in you as grace allows this light to continue to brighten and emerge through you." So this light is calling us. This light is calling us, and there's no time to it. There's no effort to it. There's simply the call to be, to know that this light has a power within itself that is greater than all darkness. And in the words, "I am the light of the world," I am the light of the world. Each one of you are the light of the world. You have a divine purpose to allow this light to shine. And you know that. You know when you have been deceiving yourself in any way. It's hard to look another person in the eye. But you know when you have been filled with truth and you speak truth, that light shines through you as you. And your words are received with great love and kindness. You know that. We are disciples of this truth. So we let the light in to open up our perceptions. We light up our eyes with the light of thoughts of joy, of faith, of having noble purpose, as Ernest Holmes puts it. These are the qualities that allow our eyes to light up. And you see this as people have gone in retreat or they've gone through great study, they've been doing their spiritual practice. Their eyes are lit up with this great knowing. But if you live a life that is filled with suspicion or doubt, the eyes will cloud with that truth, and they will not be the true mirrors of your soul. They will show that deception. And so, again, the work points to allow this inner light to take birth inside of you. This is what it means by let the eye be single. How does that pertain to the light? You see, when we live in a world of duality, we see this and we see that and we see this and that. But when we allow our eye to be single and we allow ourselves to go deep within and to polish our soul and to allow all of the thin veils of all of our perceptions that just allow us to live perhaps a moral life. They're not all bad perceptions, but when we get beyond all of that even, and we sit at the seat of our heart, and we get that deep sense of our consciousness merging with that heart space, we allow ourselves to be flooded with this light that moves through our entire being. And we allow ourselves to shimmer with that light. So there is a beautiful, in closing, I wanted to share how simple this way is by Leonard Jacobson. He says this way is simple. This way is simple, be here now. Transcend judgment. Bring yourself into balance within duality. Surrender fear and control. Live in true responsibility. Accept and acknowledge the many aspects and dimensions of yourself, particularly at the level of the ego. Be in right relationship with yourself. Be in right relationship with others. Be in right relationship with your feelings. Be in right relationship with life. Be in right relationship with God. Act lovingly in the world. Be a light unto yourself. Be a light into the world. Such wisdom. Join with me as you enter this season, the season of light, where the idea, the concept of the one star, the one guiding light, always sending us a message of our connection to that light, to that one, to that truth, to that divinity, to that love. This is the season of the light. And as we peer out into the world and we see that light, that star, that brilliance calling us home, we internalize that truth and we imprint that light into the consciousness of our own mind, into the consciousness of our own heart, into the power of our own being. And we are chosen in this time, in this lifetime, to be disciples of this life, of this light, to be ambassadors of this truth. and to express this love, washed away from all judgment, from all ideas of unworthiness. We stand in a power and a clarity and a sense of stillness in this moment of time. In this moment of time, this light dwells within you as you. It's your inner light. The flame is burning. I give thanks for the wisdom of the masters. I give thanks for the mystical knowing of the scriptures, of the truth. I give thanks for the light in this room. I release these words knowing that this season unfolds in the glory, in the truth, in the light, in the love, and so it is.
To introduce Reverend Sue Miller Born, speaking on the topic, the inner light.
Good morning. So thank you, choir. Very beautiful weaving of your voices. So the reading that Chris shared with you today kind of took my breath away when I was looking through the Science of Mind text and exploring what reading would be for today. This one piece of it here. If we think we can guide our brother aright while our own feet still walk in darkness, we are mistaken. Okay, I really feel ready for the talk now. And then we must first clarify our own vision, then we shall become as lights, lighting the way for others. Okay. And then the real catcher here for me was, but can we teach a lesson we have not learned? Oh, I'm here to talk to you about the inner light. That maybe I've had one glimpse of in my lifetime. I've actually had many glimpses, and I know all of us have, because that's the divine path. That's what draws us. That's the piece of the whole life that draws us into a deep longing to know more and more about this spirit-driven life. But can we give that which we do not possess? To suppose so is hypocrisy. And I went, ooh, that is such a word, isn't it? Hypocrisy. And I must share with you that I lived that last week because I was invited to do a wedding for a friend of mine who is deeply immersed in the Episcopalian pathway. But we have been friends for many, many, many numerous years. And the one thing I know about my friend is that she lives a spirit-driven life, and she's not really confined to the dogma, though that is the faith path where she is fed. Okay, I said, I'll help you in any way I can. And she goes, well, do you do the Eucharist? And I went, I was Methodist, I did communion, I took the wafer, I took the juice. I haven't done that for many years, but I said, exactly, no, I haven't. And so I didn't hear from her for a while, and then she sent me her ideas for the service. And there it was, my name all through it, and it said, Sue will introduce the Eucharist. And I was like, oh boy, where's that hypocrisy? A thing to be shunned. And I said, well, I'm really, well, as it was so divinely orchestrated, and here's the real pressure, she was marrying an Episcopal priest. I was surrounded with, in the company of, they had only chosen a few people to join the ceremony, and it was in a beautiful little backyard garden wedding. But I was accompanied by a 40-year man in service priest, and then the priest of her current congregation. No pressure. And there I am. And they're talking to me all about, the one gentleman was telling me his 40-year journey as a pastor and all of the things that in the name of Jesus he had revelations for. And it was totally fascinating and I was totally drawn in. But then I thought, oh dear. I thought maybe I'm in a little bit over my head here, because then I looked out at the crowd of people and I knew they were all coming from their congregation. But I stepped in, did my ceremony the way I do my ceremony. And what I've learned on my faith path, on my journey, is what I love about this teaching is you can take the gems, the light, the stories from all faith paths and feel so at home with that. And so I felt that way about Christianity, and I feel that way about Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism. They're my friends. And so I felt like, okay, I'm taking my friends to the altar here. And so the way I weave a ceremony together, I choose from all these different faith paths. And it was sort of interesting because I do this one little piece at the end. And it's very endearing. It's a Buddhist prayer. But I had said that, now the couple is going to honor each other with a Buddhist prayer. And I didn't think anything of it, but Charlie said the heads turned. And I'm just like my blonde up there, just, we're going to do this Buddhist thing. But it was really, I told Shannon to trust me on the ceremony, and so she was right with me through the whole thing. But I could see her new husband go, just a little bit of, but this is all we did, and you can do it right now too, because they faced one another, and they put their hands over their heart like this. And they say to one another, may I be happy. So you say that with me, may I be happy. And then you can turn to a person that's near you, and you put your hands like this. May you be happy. And then you bow and say, may we be happy. See? You're still okay. So we did that, and it was just very endearing. But then the part led into where the other ministers took over, thank goodness. And there was some beautiful prayers that were spoken, and we broke the body of Christ. And then one of the ministers said to me, and here I kept thinking of this, to suppose so is hypocrisy, a thing to be shunned. And he said, well, you know that you should never just take the bread, you should be given it. And I said, I don't know that, but I do now. And he said, so you must break the bread and give it to me. And I'm thinking, okay, how much? I started thinking, so I break off this huge wad, I was like, and then he said, so then I thought, well, do I take it now? And then I was kind of like watching them, and then they took theirs, but mine was too big to put in my mouth, so I just kind of nibbled it a little bit, and then you're offering the goblet. And I wanted to, because I had been up there for a really long time, but I got through all of that. But what I'm saying is, if to guide your brother aright while our own feet walk in darkness. I was walking in darkness through that whole sermon. I'm not making fun of the Eucharist, because I believe in holy ritual, and I believe in what they were doing, because they were breaking their bread with one another and serving their first meal with all of their company. And I just thought it was so lovely, and I really wanted to be an integral part of that. But I just watched myself realize where I've been on my journey, sort of fluffy, and just enjoying the light, the messages of truth as they appear in so many ways. So this starts off, one of the references we have this month is the hidden power of the Bible, some of the words of Ernest Holmes. And this one he says in particular about the inner light. The creature shall be delivered from bondage. As the inner light dawns, so think about your own light, it delivers the outer life from bondage. So when we are allowing ourselves to be awakened, to allow that inner light to sit calm enough, to allow the ideas of doubt and insecurities and unworthiness, to allow those voices to fade, those voices that keep us in bondage and suffering. As we allow that to release, we are delivered to an idea, a greater, pure idea of this Christ knowing, this Christ consciousness. This is in line with the teaching that everything is from within out, from within out. We must spend time, if the invitation is to spend time in deep, reverent spiritual practice. We cannot do a world of serving one another if we haven't spent that time at the own altar of our own heart, lighting the candle, the flame of our own heart and the sanctuary of our own heart. When the soul knows freedom, the law will free the body and the outer life will express health, happiness, and success. Amen. So you see that? When you are in that place, when it's cleared, when you have polished away the consciousness of your being, some of the things that we hold in our consciousness, we are so innocent of. They were our upbringing. They were the voices that were spoken by misinformed people, unskilled people in our world. And it is our blessing, it is in our power to take that and to turn it to the light. Because whenever there is a shadow, whenever there is a piece of darkness, we turn it to the light. And a brilliance overcomes it. And it can banish that thought forevermore. So we are continuing to allow, each time we come together in fellowship, into this idea of messages together and hear the songs, the beautiful songs. We hear the prayers. We hear the readings. We come in service to one another. We are allowing that light to kindle. We are adding kindle to our flame. And we're allowing it to burn brighter. So those ideas that deceive us in any way, they're just burned up and gone forever. All things work for our good. Even that which we call evil is salutary, leading us to the way, the truth, the life. Suffering should teach us a lesson which would cause us to refrain from making more mistakes. Oh, okay. So we can quit whining about it. We can start looking at some of the error of our ways and think, oh, I keep thinking about it because I need to not do this again. It carries a blessing with it when we learn how to learn. That's the only little piece he writes in here about the inner light. And yet, throughout the textbook, he refers to this divine light, this divine knowing again and again and again. And he speaks to it as the light of the body is in the eye. And we want this idea to make our whole body filled with light. Where does that phrase come? I spoke about this at the 9 o'clock service. Thine eye be single, thy eye be single. No duality. No duality when you're in that space. We cannot think black and white. This is bad, this is good. We go beyond. We go back, deep into that place where the divine just shimmers its light in pure glory, in pure truth. And the practice of a lifetime, this idea, this topic made me in a deep longing. I was with my daughter yesterday and she said, "You're so pensive." And I was thinking so much of this talk, this inner light, this call of the light. And I realized with such emotion that I was containing that it is what has called me for a lifetime to be on a spiritual journey. It is what has called me into the practice of yoga. And I long to be still enough to have the peace of the soul emerge through me, and to have my whole being lit up with that bright light of divine knowing. And recognizing that as we develop that light, as we cultivate that light, as we fan the flames of our own personal light, we become the light for all people. And we must be ready for that always being ready for it. See, we think that our eyes are what sees and interprets things, but they're just an organ. And what happens is light and things that we see from our outer world, we bring into the eyes, and then it's taken into the brain, and then a perception is made. And then sometimes that perception, we merge it with the quality of the heart, and suddenly we have a conception, an idea, a judgment. And if we can see things with the clarity of our eyes, with that clarity of truth, with that pristine idea, and then everything that we reflect out from this place of clarity in our mind are reflections of the divine. So allow ourselves to become less reactive, less impulsive, less caught with the shadow of the world, and allow ourselves to witness that, to feel that, to be stunned, and then say, I must go deeper. I must go deeper in this time, in this now of our lifetime. And to allow this light to see with the light of the divine. This inner world that we experience is the gateway to wisdom, and we can allow this illumination of our soul. We can take the illumination of the masters, of the mystics, of those that have been caught with the rapture of that light, of that divine knowing, and spill back to us poetry and truth. And they create pathways for us to connect, to lead us. They are the flashlights that lead us deeper inward. And so it allows their wisdom, their clarity, their truth. When we say, oh, I get that. Oh, I've got that. And you can feel it in your heart. It drops from the mind, from confusion. It drops right into the altar of the heart, where the flame is always burning. And in the Siddha tradition that was Swami Muktananda invited people into this depth of meditation to find that great pearl and to allow that flame to not just be streaks that pass through you, but you would fan that until your very being, you saw all things from that viewpoint, from that place of absolute wisdom. So this is seeing the way with the light of the divine. What an invitation it is this season, as the season of light is among us. The beautiful, we spoke of Reverend Lolita, who are having her ceremony of life, which I regret I won't be able to be here next week, but her celebration is something to really want to be a part of. She wrote this beautiful book, and we gave them out at the Taizé service, and she put together some of her wisdom. And what she speaks to is this light, is this star in the sky that led the wise men. They were searching. They were just like we are. They were searching for a greater idea, a greater wisdom. And so they see this brilliant light, and they follow that light. So you see within your own self, when you have that light burning inside of you, you follow that light. And you follow the idea of the wisdom of that light. And Lolita, these are on the back, and she has a lot of these wisdoms there for us to explore, to review, and to renew. And I loved this particular passage that she had in her, mine's falling apart, so I picked one that's falling apart here, but I do want to share. Then I picked up one that wasn't broken. And these are those moments where you just want to hide and have the choir come back up because you can't find where you carefully marked it. Thank you. That has many, many pieces. That just fell apart all over. But this particular story about a man who was trying to get to the kingdom of heaven. He didn't think he knew the way, so he sat about waiting for something to happen. Aren't we all sitting here waiting for something to happen? After a while, a man came along with a great light. "Oh," said the man, "this fellow has a great light. I will follow him. He will show me the way." But unfortunately, the light was so bright that it blinded the man. It blinded the man, and he had to turn back. How many times have you found a spiritual truth or found a teaching but it asked so much of you, you had to turn away. It was too much to ask. You had to give up something. Oh, no, I don't want that path. I have to give up something. I have to have an austerity. And so we turn from that great light. So it was so bright that it blinded him and he had to turn back. Think about the time where Jesus came back from his time in the desert, and he was so bright, so lit up, that people could not even look at him because they had still their mask of confusion dwelling within them. And so they had to turn away. But the invitation is to stay with the light. It was so bright it blinded him, they had to turn back, discouraged and still doubting in his own ability. Sometimes we get so discouraged and we doubt our ability on the spiritual journey. But then we reach out to one another and we come again and again to services. Be at this place, be at this center, be it at any faith tradition. We find our way again and again. We find that truth. After a while, a man came along carrying a torch. "Oh," he said, "here is a man with a torch. I will follow him into the kingdom. He will show me the way." But unfortunately, the smoke from the torch got into his eyes and he could not see. He had to turn back once more. Finally, he could wait no longer, and it was his turn to go. He had nothing to rely upon but the light which shone from his own heart. The light that shines from his own heart. Hesitantly, he set forth, and strangely enough, his light proved to be just the right brilliance for him, and he safely made his journey. Oh, do you hear the truth? Do you hear what Reverend Lolita is pointing to? There are so many beautiful poems and stanzas and scriptures and teachers and gurus and masters that are forever reaching out their hand and asking us to follow their light into this deep place. And all we need to do is turn our heart towards any one of those forms of light and trust in our own heart, to trust in our own heart and be led the rest of the way. There's some beautiful, I want you to hear these beautiful poems from this lineage, the Siddha tradition. Listen to this. "The silence of the heart is luminous and completely peaceful. From the sacred place, it flows into the rest of your life." The silence of your heart. It's inviting you to sit very still. It's inviting you in this season to be drawn to the candlelights, to the tree lights, to the starlights, to the music that so many people bring of this message of light, to sit with it still long enough to allow yourself to fan those flames, to be the kindle that you throw into the flame of your own heart. Allow your mind to turn within again and again to experience its own inner silence. When you do, this divine light blazes forth, which you perceive as the light of your own heart. Once you have experienced God in the cave of your heart, you begin to perceive his energy dancing through every cell of your body, penetrating your life. And you wonder in amazement, how could such glory have remained hidden in me for so long? It is for this reason that we meditate. It is this reason that we allow our hearts to fall into this place of deep stillness and allow the messages of the masters to penetrate those places where we have thin veils. They are thin veils of doubt, placed there by your own mind in the first place, and easily plucked and easily released. So, as you've heard of this great expression from Emerson, he says, "Get your bloated nothingness out of the way." I've always been so amused by that. I think the word bloated is just such a great description of what we do on this spiritual journey. But this whole passage from the Science of Mind text, when we stand in the light, we cast the shadow. When we stand in our own light, we have that light, that inner light, that light dwelling within us as us. When we allow it to, we stand in our own light, we cast a shadow across the pathway of our own experience. We're the ones that stood there. Get your bloated nothingness out of the way. It's such a powerful, powerful expression. And this is totally spontaneous, and these people do not know that I'm going to do this. But it's a spirit-driven moment. So I want to invite Craig Boyer up here right now to stand up here. Yeah, that would be you. George Rogers. Melinda Miller Castro, Phoebe Fazio. You're going to give us your own version of this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. You give it, you first.
Really? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Take it, Craig.
I won't let Satan blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. No, I won't let Satan blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. I won't let Satan blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Loving all my friends, I'm gonna let it shine. Loving all my friends, I'm gonna let it shine. Loving all my friends, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Wasn't that a treat? Thank you, God, and thank the God and the divine in each one of you, because you had no idea. But I sat up there and I thought, yes, of course. That's the way it is. It's this spontaneous moment where we're called and we allow that little light of ours to shine. And what happens spontaneously? The world sings with you. Yeah, that is powerful, powerful. So in closing, I have this beautiful treatment from Ernest Holmes as he shares this idea of peace of mind and light. So join with me in this closing, in this knowing. Be still and know that I am God. I am the Christ, the Son of the living God within me. I am the principle of peace within me. I am the manifestation of love within me. My mind is poised in peace and beauty. All sense of fear or doubt is gone. I rest in calm and trust. I rely on the Spirit to bring good into my experience. I am the Christ. the Son of the living God within me. This inner mind of mine is now divine and complete, has no worries or fears. It is whole, complete, and satisfied. I look back over all previous experiences and find that it was good, very good. I look toward the future and find that it is good and very good. I look into the presence and I find that it is good and very good. God is in all, over all, through all. I am the Christ, the Son of the living God within me. I am the spirit of confidence. I am poised in love and reason. I am the perfect law of truth, the complete presence of beauty. I am Christ, the Son of the living God within me. I am the light, I am the way, I am the truth. I release these words into the absolute knowing that the light shines so brightly, so brightly. Thank you, God, and so it is.